Hello BookTube, it's Andrea. This is a small belated holiday haul of sorts. Most of these books are ones that my mom chose off of the list that I gave her of books that I might like to own. And then there's a couple of other ones I have a package to open, so yeah. I'm going to go through these in the order that I got them / opened them, I think, from what I remember. So the first one is one that came in the mail from AK Press, addressed to me, and I was like, I didn't order anything from AK Press. And then I was like, this must be from Sarah, because I had been talking with them in the past about how cool AK Press is and like how much we love all the titles that they always put out. And so sure enough, she sent me The Lamb Will Slaughter the Lion by Margaret Killjoy. This is a trans femme punk anarchist found family demons and commune town type, I guess urban fantasy type of tale. It's really small. I'm so excited to read this. When I opened it, I was like, ah! I think most of these books, when I opened them, I kind of was like screeching because I was so surprised and excited. My face has a weird shadow on it. I don't like this. There we go. Is that a little bit better? Yes. Cool. So then my mom got me A Mind Spread Out on the Ground by Alicia Elliott, who is a Mohawk author. This is like one of my most favorite book covers that I've seen recently. It's a collection of essays about indigeneity and mental health, a life spent between indigenous and white communities, a divide reflected in her own family, race, parenthood, love, art, mental illness, poverty, sexual assault, gentrification, and representation. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I haven't read I can't even think of any specific essay collections that I've read. I know I've read like nonfiction that kind of feels like that, but I'm really looking forward to that. And then also got me Asata, which is Asata Shakur's autobiography, with a foreword by Angela Davis and Lennox S. Hines. Asata Shakur was a Black Panther who had to flee the US to live in Cuba because the US was after her as a radical committer of treason against the white supremacist nation state. And I was quite delighted and like a little bit surprised that my mom chose this. I think she was intrigued because her family's from Cuba, but she was like, I really want to read this too. So I'm really excited for the possibility of like maybe reading it with her. Then there is Post-Colonial Love Poem by Natalie Diaz. I talked about this a little bit in my poetry collection video. She is Mohave and an enrolled member of the Gila River Indian tribe. I think this is her second poetry collection, just talking about family, colonialism, identity. I believe she is queer as well. I've listened to a really great interview with her on Denez Smith and Franny Choi's podcast Verses a while back. And then speaking of poetry, this is a book that I got myself that arrived around the holidays. I got a copy of it for a friend, so I figured that I would talk about it again because obviously this book is not going to be around BookTube because it's super, super small press, and I want to get conversation about it happening. And it's called Ordinary Time by Nikki Mayu and Brianna Lodwig, and it's a really tiny little poetry collection by someone that I have followed for a while and taken a lot of inspiration and wisdom from. Nikki Mayu talks a lot about leaving the evangelical church in Louisiana and coming out as queer and like just the process of like faith deconstruction and agnosticism and like radical politics, like in what kind of like in relation to being a deconstructed like ex-church person. The poetry in this kind of is along those same themes. I think there seems to be a lot of like nature imagery as well. I've read a fair bit of them on her Instagram already, and they're so beautiful, and I'm really excited to read the other ones that I have not read yet, that she has not read out loud or shared bits of already. It's from Tilted House, which is a New Orleans press. This is the first like hard copy that they've put out. And then the illustrations are also by a queer artist. They are from Kansas. So yeah. Then this is another one that I screeched at when I opened it, that it came a few days late because, you know, the mail during COVID Christmas, but it is As We Have Always Done by Leanne Batasmasak Simpson, Indigenous Freedom Through Radical Resistance. It locates Indigenous political resurgence as a practice rooted in uniquely Indigenous theorizing, writing, organizing, and thinking. It makes clear that the goal of Indigenous resistance can no longer be cultural resurgence as a mechanism for inclusion in a multicultural mosaic, calling for unapologetic place-based Indigenous alternatives to the destructive logics of the settler colonial state. So like super academic sounding, but I adore Leanne Batasmasak Simpson's writing. I've learned so much and resonated so much with her short story / poetry song collections. And I'm really looking forward to learning more like academically from her. The chapters are just like, man, it's so Nishnabeg anti-capitalism, endlessly creating our Indigenous selves, Indigenous queer normativity, the sovereignty of Indigenous people's bodies, land as pedagogy, constellations of co-resistance. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. Probably not till my semester is over, but yeah. The last two from my mom are How to Survive Today, Poems, Prompts, and Affirmations for Those of Us Still Finding Our Way by Tonya Ingram. She is one of the poets that I have followed online for the longest period of time. I've read a lot of her work online, and so she's also written a book called Another Black Girl Miracle, and I haven't read that one yet, but this was the one that my mom chose off the list to get. I didn't get a chance to talk about it in my poetry collection video because this had not come in the mail yet when I filmed that. But it's a really, really beautiful little poetry collection / like artwork collection. There's some pictures of her in it, and it's like very sort of like collage-y vibes inside of it. Like sort of, I guess, like pull quotes out of the different poetry, and then you can like draw in it yourself, like write about where your heart is. Little notes. Tonya Ingram writes a lot on mental health issues, and I discovered her through an organization that was really meaningful to me in high school. It was called To Write Love on Her Arms, and I guess she's like written poetry for them or something like that, but yeah, this seems like a really sweet sort of book to read super slowly and really like come back to a lot of pieces for when I need them. And I love how tiny it is. It's so cute. And then last but not least of the holiday books for my mom is Blonde Indian by Ernestine Hayes, an Alaska Native memoir. This is an older book. I think it's from like 2006. And it's by let's see, where's her biography? She is a member of the Wolf House of the Kagwantan clan of the Lingit. And this is the January pick for Erin and Danny's book club over on Instagram, run by Danny from Thunderbird Woman Reads and Erin from Erin's Library. I just started it today and it's really good so far. They're doing memoirs, Indigenous memoirs throughout the entire year of 2021. So check that out. I'll put some links for that. So now I'm gonna open my package. As I've talked about in my sort of author tubing video a while ago, I'm doing a sort of like focused reading during this winter, during this semester of college for an independent study that I'm doing with one of my sort of like mentor teachers at the community college that I go to, where we're working on my novel, but we're also working on like reading things to kind of inform that, whether it's like thematically, like novels that are similar, or reading nonfiction memoirs that are like involve things that are in the story. So I got 2 books for that I either could not get at my library or knew that I would want to annotate. So they just came today and we're gonna open that up right now. Here's the package. Oh my gosh, this is so little. I thought this was gonna be so much bigger. So we've got Rust Belt Femme by Rachel Anjali. This is so tiny. Yikes. That's quite small for the amount of money that I paid for it, but it is gorgeously glossy. It's a hardcover. Whoa, okay, there's like the cover on the inside is like, wow, that's wild. Okay, that's cool. But yeah, it's a memoir of growing up in poverty in Ohio and journeying through childhood trauma to life as a proudly femme queer PhD. Coming of age in the 90s and early 2000s, she founded a community against punk teens, radical politics, lesbian witches, local coffee shops, tinged by the bellows and of charcoal and mill smoke of Northeast Ohio. I'm so delighted by how cute this is. I've heard some really great things about this book from some people that I follow online, and I think there's a lot of elements in it that are similar to one of my main characters. So yeah, there's that one. And then we've got The Collected Schizophrenias by Esme Waijan Wang. It's essays about mental health. It begins with her long journey towards a diagnosis and then ventures into the daily realities of life with mental illness. Her essays dispel misperceptions and provide insights into a condition long misunderstood, culminating in a book of undeniable clarity and power. That looks like there's some really great essays in here. One of my friends has read this and said that it was like the best book on mental health that they'd ever read. I know Jessie from Bow Ties and Books has also talked about this having been a really impactful read for them, and I think it will also be for me just in understanding more about like the politics of diagnosis and about, I don't know, just naming a lot of things. It's been a while since I've read like super mental health focused things. I used to read a lot more like YA books that were focused in that way. Some of them maybe better representation than others. So yeah, I love how this cover makes me think of like a like an old cloth print book like that you would find at an antique store, because it looks like there's something about, I don't know if you can see that at all, but there's something about this that kind of makes me think of like linen, almost like like a linen texture. I don't know where I'm going with that, but anyways, that's the end of this video. That's all the books I have to talk about. I'm really excited about all of them. Let me know if you've read any of them or if you want to read any of them, and thank you for watching, and I will be back sometime, who knows when, with the way semester is getting quite busy, but hopefully at some point I'll pop in with an update about the author tube stuff. Okay, goodbye!